It is 9:22 on Tuesday morning. I have finished teaching my first class and I really want to make a video today. I find that since getting back from Christmas break, I've been just super busy and I'm about to go on another trip because Chinese New Year comes up very fast this year after Christmas. So join me as I complain about not having enough time and find something to do. Today's project is not this sewing machine. It's actually going to be setting up a resin printer that I have here in the workshop. I think this is brand new. That's cool. But yeah, so a new 3D printer, a resin 3D printer is what I'm going to do after my classes are done. While I'm setting up, I think one of the challenges of design in general is that as they get older, I really want them to explore possibilities and options in the field of design and in creating things. And what that can mean is that they are given a lot of different opportunities to build stuff or to make things. That also means that I either have to be proficient in them or be able to set things up and teach them how to use something. Or just make space for that in class. So we'll see how it goes on this and on the 3D printer. It is 1:05 p.m. I have not opened the printer box yet, but I'm not too worried about that. I've also just finished recording a little bit of video. It's about putting together this Elven Union Blood Bowl team. Who knows, someone might be interested in that. The sewing machine was a hit. Students took to it pretty quickly and had a lot of fun assembling some scrap fabric into pockets of more scrap fabric. In the time that has passed, I've also shown a few more students how to use a scroll saw, which was also cool. Several 3D printers going right now, making a tremendous amount of noise, as the Ender 3 V3 Plus is known to do. Printing off some parts that I'm not entirely sure what they're for, but one older student came in and asked for some things to be printed for his robotics club. So we're doing that as well. What I'm doing right now for these guys is adding some epoxy putty to their bases to fill this slot that comes in them. After this, I think I will probably crack into working on that resin printer. Maybe. We are really close to a break, like I mentioned, and Chinese New Year's coming up. And as a result, kind of wrapped up things for class. So I'm in a planning period right now, which is open. But because I am done with most things in class except for grade 10, I have a bit of time to work on things. So I just finished some work on my Blood Bowl team. And these are pretty cool. It's a little test of a Tech Week logo that I worked on. I made this model last night. I'm just going to add some magnets to this and see how the technology integration team feels about them. Nice. These magnets are very nearly just purely press fit, but it doesn't seem to want to stick to the magnet itself, which is a good sign. All right, we have one with the Hilbert curve, and I think that's pretty cool. A couple with the Archimedean chords, which also look pretty cool, and then one that was a octagram spiral. And that one looks really cool. It looks like a lot like I don't know, if you imagine technology, if you told me to make a technology themed background for something, it might be something like that. A coffee mug maybe? Let's see. No, let's just get a magnet up to that. That part worked though. I should go try it here. Is 2 enough? I think it's gonna need to be 3 at least. I'll wait and see if I have a few more of these. I found more magnets, which is great. I thought I was out of these 8mm magnets, but it turns out I had another set of, I guess 8, meaning that I should have 16, and each one of these can get 4 magnets. Then I will be out. Behind me, you can see some of my mess. I figured, if I'm going to show off part of what I'm doing today, I might as well mention one of my ongoing battles, which is just having too much stuff in my workshop. It's really annoying. I recommend not having as much stuff in your workshop. But if you do, probably need more shelves than me, I guess. I need some kind of special fingertip glove thing with steel in it to press into these. Okay, I think we're I think we're good then. We have our Tech Week magnets, which is great. I'm gonna go deliver these. Okay, it is 6:36, and it is completely unsurprising that at this point, I still have not opened this box yet, but I am now. When I started this morning, I really wanted to get like at least this thing out of the box, and I am gonna, if at all possible, print something with it right now. We'll just see how long the setup takes. Days are busy, man. It's challenging to get everything done. All right, the lid tells me the unbox process, which I guess involves taking something off the bottom. Maybe that's just the process of, oh yeah, there is something down here, okay. Yeah, you have something to remove. Oh yeah, okay, so this is like some kind of lock, got it. I had some students come in for my 3D printing club, which actually didn't happen today, but I let them stay anyway because they asked nicely. All right, and we've got a printer. I'll tell you what, man, the paperwork side of being a teacher is really challenging to me. I've never been good at paperwork in general. At least not good at keeping up with paperwork in a way that I guess modern schooling would appreciate. All right, so we've nearly got this. Lift these things up. Okay. We've now truly unboxed it. There is no more box. So we've got printer. It is a Creality Hallett Mage Pro 8K. So we've got an envelope here with some information. I was talking to my friend Kevin at Creality, and I was just telling him I feel like 3D printing companies have basically marketed these machines entirely at like people who want to print figurines or create like tabletop miniatures. And those things are really cool. I like those things, but I see some extra space to market or space to kind of reach out to people. One of my friends has designed or is designing different like hockey pucks. First prototyped on FDM and then prototyped on a resin printer. And in the case of the results from the resin printer, like some of the materials have produced something which is just way stronger than anything that you could print on an FDM machine in terms of its impact resistance. I have a website saved that's like your first resin printer, and I will check that out in perhaps a little bit. I don't want to make any mistakes right away. Wouldn't be a 3D printer without hex keys. I've not used one of these ever. I really don't know what to expect. Let me power this on. Oh, it's animated. Exciting times. Please keep the screen clean. Change the screen while power off. Okay, cool. Welcome to use the Hallett series 3D printers. All right, Wi-Fi. Let's join the workshop network. I appreciate that there's not an extra screen on this, but I also feel like, at least at this angle, it's a little wonky. Movement, all right, leveling. Hey, look at that. Going up like a champ. Okay, so we take this out, cool. Well, all right. To calibrate, please raise the platform first. So let me try it again and get this out of here maybe. Okay, that's loose enough. That's certainly loose enough. And we did it. We're up. Cool. So we now have this thing here. Hopefully this doesn't, okay, that seems fine. I feel like my problem solving skills sort of vanish when I start to talk about projects out loud while I'm doing them. So we've got a plate up here, and We've got release film, we've got leveling. Now that everything is in place, I'm going to hit leveling again. So I'm going to close this to make sure no more dust gets in. We know we can press leveling. We've got equipment parameters. I will go over that later. I appreciate the pretty large build size. I think it's having looked closely at buying one of these a few months ago. I honestly didn't realize how much smaller the build volume was compared to FDM printers until looking online. And then someone had this this picture that was shared on Reddit that was like a Post-it note and then sizes of resin printer build plates. I don't know, I expected them to be larger. It's the main takeaway here. The closest that was on there was like getting closer to the size of an A4 sheet of paper, but still not there. Nice to see a little bit bigger volume on this, but still nothing compared to some of the other printers I have. This disc has software on it. Let's go install that. Let me just close up a few of these different things here. Yeah, I might as well show this because I'm about to go home. Surprise, it's show and tell. My grade 6 students have designed new Lego sets as part of a longer term project we did this semester. And whenever my students do a thing, I like to do something with them. And what I did initially was create this Blood Bowl board. How timely of me working on that elf Blood Bowl team. And then I wanted to create more elements of a stadium. This program is called Bricklink Studio. It is free and it is a total blast to use. Building Legos is great and all, but my favorite part is that you can render images. So like, let's get that about where that rendered image is. So the renders that you make, like this one on the right side, takes into effect light and shadows and ray tracing. You get to do some fun stuff that you also don't get to do in real life. Like this kind of blurry now looking torch or brazier is a combination of light, like luminous colors, and then transparent colors to kind of create this fun flame effect. I made this other render earlier, and this looks pretty cool as well. The rendering settings, like a lot of rendering tools, do have like field of view and detail and so on. So this was kind of fun. I was like, what would it look like if I was at the field? Okay, Hallet box, let's go. Drop it in that folder, cool. We can all agree that watching software get installed is riveting content. I mean, like absolute top tier, the kind of thing that makes you, smash that like button every single time. I ordered dumplings for dinner and they have arrived at my apartment and I want to go and make them. So I'm going to do that soon. I feel like I look haunted. It is 7:39 and I'm going to go home. Having not printed anything on the resin printer. 12:32 Wednesday afternoon, and I have not gotten a chance to play with the resin printer more. I did do a tiny bit of reading and learned about Chi Box at home. I had intended to record first period, but stuff happens, and on the way to school today, a couple older students who I had encouraged to make a short film for an upcoming kind of film contest told me that today's their day to film, and it's 2 days before the deadline. And they really needed my my light and softbox and my microphones, which is why the sound is a little different right now. So they are borrowing those for a few more hours, and then I'll get back to it down here. I did have a moment to add some texture to the bases of my elf Blood Bowl team. It's like a really minor detail, but it matters, I guess. It matters to me. When they're painted, it makes this really easy to dry brush and to look like it's more like dirt, especially at a bit of a distance. And the next step on all these is airbrushing them. I don't think I'll do that today, but I'll get to it really soon. I'm sure there are better ways to balance things than I do. It is 4:43 p.m. on Wednesday afternoon, and I have made little progress on the resin printing front today. And I let those girls borrow my microphones overnight to finish their video. So I'm just recording on the iPhone microphone here like a true professional. I've also learned that there's a lot more involved with resin printing that I probably should have researched in the beginning. I knew all that, but there's just some supplies that it kind of looks like I should have, even if I could sort of make do with what I have now. So I've ordered more isopropyl alcohol and ordered a box of like extra large nitrile gloves. I have really big hands and they just don't fit in normal gloves very well. For the fact that they gave me a tube has me thinking quite a lot about filtration using existing things that I have. I have a sack of activated carbon extrusions, like tubes, and I also have plenty of 3D printers, and I also have a bunch of fans. We can go to B-roll of my fans and electrical stuff now. And so I'm thinking about filtration systems again. I bought a bunch of these things early in 2024 when I was doing a little bit more work with the laser cutter I have and really getting sick of smelling smoke in my room, even with ventilation. So I bought a bunch of this stuff. I've got activated carbon and HEPA filters. I've got a bunch of fans, and I remember seeing a model of this really cool Noctua fan amplifier, like to make a desktop fan out of your 120 millimeter PC fans. And so I am printing some of those now. The reason I want to try that is, as I read on the page for this particular print, and as I've experienced in real life, basically the air goes all over the place. It's kind of turbulent, and this particular thing looks like it directs the air in a useful pattern, in a useful way. And so I'm hoping that if I take that and kind of build it into a system to direct air through container of activated carbon extrusions, that will do something that will help filter the air. I have an air quality monitor that I can test. I mean, it's not a scientific instrument, it's just a air quality monitor that I have for the room. I'm still really looking forward to getting this set up. I think it's just it's a little more work out of the box than the other machines I have by a lot. In any case, I'm not going to stay as late tonight. My wife was at a performance last night, and she is home sick today. It's been a very full day, and in a shocking twist, I have not been able to touch my machine until now. Before I get started on this, I do want to route this pipe in the back into a box of activated carbon. So I have an idea for how to make a really quick and dirty and probably not super effective filter, but I'm going to give it a try and see what happens. I mentioned these yesterday, and so I'll have to make sure that I leave that part in. These turned out pretty cool. I had a student help me put them together when she was discussing the stress of applying to universities, and they're cool. They feel like they amplify air, so that's cool. Also happened today, I had some former students come back from America, and they brought me a very large thing of Reese's cups, which I have happily shared with some other people at school. So the time has come. I'm going to make a filter box, and then we'll get started on printing. I promise. All right, so my plan is to seal this up because I don't want the activated carbon escaping. That stuff is dark and gets everywhere. I want this to bend. It is currently straight. A strong thing you can do, that's already leaking, is to just run this on the edge of a table like that. Now we have this nice and rounded. Obviously that will change how it looks, but in this case, I don't really care how it looks. Normally a pretty good idea to clear up your workspace before you start anything like this, but I'm in a rush. It's 5:49 now. I'd like to go home at some point. I actually have to pack for Japan tonight. 4mm carbon extrusions, not ultra high grade or anything. So when I bought this is like advertised as pretty much general purpose, like you buying this carbon stuff for any kind of filter that you may want to work with. Hopefully it works for this. All right, we did it. We've now created a box with carbon inside and an inlet over here. Fingers crossed. Fun thing about using a C-stand as a tripod is you can sort of move it like a jib a little bit. All right, that'll do. Extend this a bit more. We got a very attractive filter box. Got a slice thing here. The cliff notes of this is that I modify these files a little bit to make them better for 3D printing, a little bit stronger. Exposure time, rising height 8, motor speed 5. Resin default, right? We need to figure out the resin part. I've got a few resins over here. I've got a high precision skin color one, and then I have blue high precision. I guess we'll do high precision skin, and hope these aren't weird. We're gonna drop this onto the USB drive. All right, I'm gonna watch this feed system guide while I set this up. This is my baseline number. This is where we're at right now. Okay, so I wiped down this tube with isopropyl alcohol, and I'm gonna pop it over here. Great, feeding system in. Please feed. Please be in the right place, Resin. Thank God, okay, we're in the right place. So the video was definitely sped up when this happened. Looks like we are nearly full. Let's just hit start and see what happens. All right, we are, I guess we're going. We're printing layer 1. I don't want to get in the way of my time lapse, but we'll see what happens. So the humidity being really high was a reminder to go and dump out my dehumidifier. But so far, I'm not seeing anything crazy over here. We had a failure. So as you can see, there was a bit of a failure. I realized this is probably almost entirely because I put the orientation wrong. I put a bunch of time into like making sure that there were holes for drainage in the chest pieces, and then I absolutely forgot about the orientation of the plate. Basically, I think I oriented them wrong in the slicer. We're going to find out in just a minute. If there's resin inside to pour out, then yes, but I don't know if that'll be the case. It is Friday morning at 9:40. I need to go home and finish packing for my trip in a few minutes, but I don't really want to leave this as is for the entire break. There's a little bit of resin in that. I'm going to tip that up and let it kind of maybe drain. And then the next thing to do though is to remove this plate. All right, so this has been loosened. Now I can take this off. I'm going to try and just like... So what I am gathering is that because of my mistakes, I increased the weight quite a bit. So those really thin, kind of minimal supports that the slicer put on were not enough to deal with this. So we can see there's resin coming out of this. There is resin on the pieces. What the nice parts actually look quite good. Basically, like, it looks like a lot of the problems are just related to like weight shifting through the process. So there is one in particular that really feels like it has a lot of resin in it. This one here, you can see resin coming out. This one as well. So lesson learned, I'm not going to accidentally make a cup with resin in the future. That was my goal, putting a bunch of time into trying to fix them ahead of time, and I was in a rush last night. I am right-handed. I'll turn this around so we can see it, but because of not wanting to get my scraper completely covered in resin, I'm going to be left-handed for a moment. So our first chunk is off, and I'm gonna put this in the plate to let the resin dry out. Yeah, I don't recommend being the wrong-handed for this. I'm gonna switch gloves. We got that and that, so we got this piece. So next up is I'm going to clean off these pieces over here. I'm gonna break off the supports, wash them in isopropyl alcohol using a toothbrush and my gloved hands, and then let them dry for a minute, and then cure them, and then run to go finish packing. All right, let's put this on. I'm putting this on because isopropyl alcohol does have VOCs, volatile organic compounds. I'm sure the voiceover quality is fantastic right now. You ever like think that you recorded something, but you definitely did not? That just happened to me. Oh well. So when I put the pieces in here, I washed them with the isopropyl alcohol and a toothbrush. And I wanted to point out the total volatile organic compounds, which is now off the charts for this air quality detector.
at 2 micrograms per meter cubed. So I'm really glad I'm wearing this mask. If these were like finished parts, I would wash them again in clean IPA, but I'm not going to do that because they're all bad. For the sake of time efficiency, I'm going to bring over the curing station. I can set this to cure and then go on my merry way. Formaldehyde's dropped quite a bit. Our TVOCs are up, we're up a little bit more maybe because I shook it around. And open this, yeah, let's just see what happens. So I'm opening this back up. We're back up to the maximum of our charts. And our CO2 is at 6,000 parts per million, which is its maximum. But the particulate matter is still quite low, so that's nice. We want to get these to where they can drain out.
So I've returned. I have my bag. We leave in 45 minutes if I am lucky at 11:55, and if I'm unlucky, we'll leave sooner than that. I'm terrible at packing to go on trips or like getting, I don't know. It's not my specialty. And I always find a reason to delay myself at the last minute. At this point, my meter has gone down to pretty low levels of everything, which is great. I'm just gonna put these things in here. I don't really know what to do with these whole parts, so I'm gonna put them up like that. I need to put this thing on. This thing being this large UV shielding bit O acrylic. And all right, let's go to that mode. We'll do normal, we'll do time, and let's hit start. All right, now we're gonna UV light. I'm gonna move away, but I'll leave the camera on that for a few minutes. So I'm back from Japan. I had these big dreams of like finishing the video there, like shooting a little bit of content on the street. This would be a good place to cut to B-roll of me attempting to do that in the snow. It was quite scenic. I even carted around 2 failed prints the whole time, which was, I guess, ultimately pointless. I think I'm gonna try and start a new, better print in a few minutes. Like I said on the video before, I definitely made a mistake and let these gather resin in them. So instead of printing like kind of pulling up like this, it did things the opposite way and got these weird shapes because it was like a cup holding onto resin. Honestly, I'm kind of impressed that it managed to like hold on to some of the shapes a little bit. Like it's hard to understand for me how this kind of a shape at the top even happened because this part was also supposed to be at an angle. I'm excited to see what happens on the next print. And I've learned some valuable lessons about this one. Behold, a change of scenery. This is my clean room, which is more of an aspirational title than it is a statement of fact. I'm gonna use this as a little base for the resin printer for a little while and see how things go. So I printed the chest pieces. They obviously didn't turn out. And I'm gonna try again. I'm gonna print one of the built-in, sort of like preloaded models and just see how it goes. So first things first, I need to reload the resin. So I'm gonna click on in. Fingers crossed everything goes well. So there is resin coming in right now. I've added this air filter. Based on earlier tests, I kind of found that having this nearby to this filter and near like the isopropyl alcohol very quickly cleared out lingering VOCs and smell. So I'm hoping that it will do the same in here. So we're up to layer 36. It's probably about to pull up and move to, yeah, there we go, move to layer 37. I was briefly hopeful that if I stayed long enough, I could capture some of it coming out of the vat and into the sky. And just kind of forgot how tiny 0.05 of a millimeter is. When we hit 40 layers down here, we will have made 2 millimeters of thickness. 20 layers equals 1 millimeter, 200 layers equals 1 centimeter. This is 2,072 layers, and that's gonna be around 10.3 centimeters tall. I've just arrived to school. I've been turning on lights and I want to go and see exactly how the resin print works. All right, so far so good. So we've got nothing in the tank, which is great. And when flipped around, looks pretty good. So I will take that apart after my first class in an attempt to save a little bit of time and to get some things done for tomorrow. At the same time as I hopefully finish up this video, I'm going to cut some balsa wood while I discuss this Berserker that I printed on the Palette Mage Pro. This balsa wood is for a project that I am having my grade 10 students do with our kindergarten students, in which they are going to assemble some houses. And I have designed those houses. The goal with them was to make a structure which can be put together without glue, but uses some materials that are reminiscent of real life materials. So balsa wood would never get used for the walls of a house, but I think it's perfectly adequate for the walls of their house. I designed a number of 3D printed parts for this model, and if you are someone who has small children at home or would like to give this kit a try, just let me know in the comments and I will upload them to one of the 3D printing websites. After seeing that everything went well with this particular model, I took it out and began to prepare to wash it off. My fancy orange nitrile gloves have arrived, and so I got to wear those. And I also remembered to put on a pair of safety glasses. I actually remembered like a Reddit post about someone's eye having like serious lasting damage after getting splashed with resin. And I was like, oh right, there's another safety component to this, and it is my eyes. So while the cleaning process was fairly straightforward and safe, my isopropyl alcohol did also arrive. So moving forward, I'm going to use the tank that came with the Creality cleaner to hold most of that isopropyl alcohol, and I will put a smaller amount in another container that I can seal as well and use that as sort of the first wash, the first coat, because as you can see, a lot of resin comes off. So having something to wash like the resin off in first and then do a second sort of dip for the models is quite useful if you want to preserve the isopropyl alcohol. This particular model has a ton of supports, and I can't speak honestly to whether that's a normal amount or an excessive amount. I don't think that this model is a great like first model. It is included obviously on the USB drive, and so on one hand, when you get your new resin printer, you can follow the steps, load the resin in, and then come up with something that looks pretty cool. The other side is just that there were supports everywhere, and it has hair and has these arrows all around it that look really cool, and they're a great way to show off the abilities of this printer, but they are just another thing that gets in the way of removing supports. I don't think this is a great beginner experience removing supports and printing this particular model. That being said, it's a cool looking model. I do think that if you get past the part where it was annoying to clean this up, it's not a bad, you know, kind of reinforcement of like, yeah, I made the right investment to buy this machine or something. So what comes next with the resin printer? I am very excited to try printing out some mechanical parts for some of my older students who have designed things which have tiny details or would just not be good printed on an FDM machine. As much as I might have mentioned, seeing the companies kind of exclusively advertising these as like miniature and statue kind of machines, I am excited to print some of those too, to print miniatures especially. I am excited to use it more, and I think that several more uses and I'll have a pretty decent workflow for doing it so it's not quite as cumbersome a process. I guess I'll end by once again shouting out the amazing Asian Joy Co. blog, which has a huge amount of detailed information about resin printing, safety, and some other related things, especially about like digital sculpting. Following their recommendation, I just downloaded an app for my iPad, and I'm excited to give that a try and see if it's maybe a little easier than diving into Maya or ZBrush right away. So check that out, especially if you are looking at getting a resin printer. There's way, way, way more information than I could have covered here, and I feel much better for having carefully read over some of their posts before doing much more resin printing. I personally have quite a few projects that are in progress or being planned. I'm quite excited to finish this video project and move on to more. This was the longest video that I've ever put together, and I really appreciate you taking the time to watch. So thanks for watching.